Yo, what's up? Welcome back. You already know what it is. It's a Sports Talk with KC Wednesday night. You know, I already know how we do each and every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I join you guys live here on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, whatever you get your podcast needs from. I'm your boy, your host, KaRon Casey Caddell. We got a loaded show for you guys like we do each and every week. We're going to get into some NFL, some NBA, some NCAA. So you guys sit down, relax, enjoy the show. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Titletown TV on YouTube, Facebook. Follow me, myself, on my personal pages, Titletown TV _ KC. First up, we got the NFL trade deadline trade, man. It was a lot of moves made, more than normal, man. It seemed like not a huge trades, but some different maker trades. A lot of trades to replace people, add to defenses like the 49ers and the Eagles did. But first move we got the Bills trading for Rasul Douglas and a 5th-round pick from the Green Bay Packers, and they get a 3rd-round pick of next year's draft. This doesn't move needles per se for the Bills, but it does have someone stable at the cornerback position, replacing Tre'Davious White, who went down with injury earlier this season. He's a decent corner. He's definitely a starter in this league, but he's no Trey White. Trey White is one of the better sit-down quarters in the league. Hope he come back healthy and better than ever next season. But as right now, Rasul Douglas is the new starter in Buffalo. Next up, we got the Lions trading for former Michigan wide receiver Donovan Douglas Jones from the Browns for a 5th-round pick. Like I mentioned before, Douglas Jones did play for Michigan, so he is familiar with the Detroit area. The Detroit Lions, I wouldn't say desperately needed a receiver per se. They're still trying to bring along Jameson Williamson, who had torn ACL at Alabama, so he didn't play much his rookie year, and then spent some time off due to suspension for gambling. I think 6 games. I think he served games for suspension. Of course, they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, their #1 target, Pro Bowl receiver, great young guy. Sam Laporta at tight end, Jahmyr Gibbs. So they're just adding young talent to the already loaded young Lions offense, and it's just beneficial to Jared Goff. We've heard rumbles of them possibly moving on from him, possibly trading him. Years ago, now he seemed like the consistent starter for the last couple of seasons. Of course, they drafted Hendon Hooker in the 2nd or 3rd round, I believe, this past year's draft. They picked up Teddy Bridgewater, a former starter in this league for the Dolphins and the Vikings teams, of that matter. So Jared Goff is steady improving, steady showing that he's a quality starter in this league, and wants to be the franchise player for Detroit going forward. I forgot to put my mic on. But yeah, man, Donovan People just add to the receiving core they already have, along with the running that 2-headed monster in the backfield with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. A team who personally didn't need to move very much other than to get healthy. Well, they did add Chase Young, which is the 49ers. They added Chase Young to a already stacked defense that featured Fred Warner, Eric Armstead, former Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa, Lil Palomalo in the secondary and safety, guys like that to a stacked defense. Actually, him and Nick Bosa actually former teammates. In 2019, Nick Bosa was one of the best edge rushers coming out of college, out of Ohio State. And then on the other side of him was Chase Young, a young Chase Young, who the following year later will get drafted in the same position. So these two former 2nd overall picks going to be coming off these quarterbacks on the east side of the line, man. And 49ers, they have a great offense led by CMC and Brady Ayuk, Debo Samuels, and George Kittle. And of course, you can't forget about Brady Purdy. That's right, Brock Purdy at quarterback. So this 49 defense, just 49 team is trying to make some serious noise. Next up, we got a minor move. Vikings are starting, I guess, rebuild and restructure their organization with them not having much team success, and also their franchise starting quarterback Kirk Cousins is out for the season with a torn Achilles. They traded away starting guard Israel Cleveland to the Jaguars for a 6th-round pick. They are now replacing Kirk Cousins with former Cardinals quarterback and Josh Dobbs in a 7th-round pick for a 6th-round pick. Neither move moves the needle for that team. Doesn't make them any better. Probably slightly worse on the offensive line. And then Josh Dobbs, he's no Kirk Cousins just yet. But he's still young, still can have a better career. But he has bounced around the league a little bit. Spent some time in Pittsburgh. Played the preseason with the Browns. Was traded to the Cardinals with Kyler Murray being out. Of course, with ACL tear. Should come back some point in the season, but Josh Dobbs was his starter. He was actually benched this past weekend in the game, and so it's kind of mind-blowing where you could have had a guy who really is a starter in this league in Jameis Winston for the Saints, or who's backing up Derek Carr, of course, but he used to be a starter with the Bucs and the Saints for a guy like Josh Dobbs who just got benched, who was just starting his career, just starting to really get his feet wet in the league with serious playing time. So maybe they're going to see what they got having and Josh Dobbs and go from there. Next trade we have is, of course, the Commanders trading Chase Young's bookend partner and Montez Sweat to the Bears for a 2nd-round pick. That's a really good pickup for the Bears and also for the Commanders as well. A team who seems to be heading a rebuilding phase, rebuilding their defense, rebuilding their team all together. They got some young pieces on offense like Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson Jr., Jahan Dotson, the Amity Jones, Brown, and Curtis Samuel. Sam Howell is okay starting in the league. More of a bridge guy. Hopefully they get a decent 1st-round pick and maybe move on from Sam Howell and continue to rebuild that whole organization from the ground up. Like I said, the quarterback going in would have running backs and receivers to work with whoever they decide to go with, whether Sam or a young guy here in next year's draft. Next up, we have the Falcons, who are also replacing a defensive lineman. They're replacing Grady Jarrett, who went down with the injury, with Eagles defensive lineman Kentavious Street and a 7th-round pick for a 6th-round pick. Falcons are just trying to fill in the hole left by Grady Jarrett, a giant size hole. That's a big boy, man. But he's really good. Of course, they still have Calais Campbell and other pieces on that defense. But adding a depth piece like Street from an Eagles team who's already loaded with talent, who later on we'll see them. You hear about them trading for another defensive piece that's really, really good. As for the Falcons, as I said, adding depth. Not really one of the best contenders right now. They didn't add pieces. Of course, they have that offense who have early 1st-round picks in Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. Jonnu Smith is another tight end. They can go 2 tight end wide on their offense. So they got some pieces in place. They got a consistent play out of the offensive line. Good quarterback play. Speaking of which, Desmond Ridder did get benched this past weekend. So, um, hey, they had some more defense pieces. Then we might be talking about the Falcons competing in the next 2 or 3 years, man. Next trade, we have the Giants sending D lineman Leonard Williams to the Seattle Seahawks for a second-round pick and a 2025 fifth-round pick. Leonard Williams has done some traveling in this league. He went from one New York team to the other, and now he's in Seattle, cross country to Seattle. He's a really good player, man. Despite being traded multiple times now, his career's a really good pass rush from the inside. Can take on multiple blocks and free up edge rushers and linebackers to affect the run game and the passing game. So great pickup for the Seattle Seahawks. Last trade of the night, we have the Eagles, who traded for Tennessee Titans safety Kevin Byard for safety Terrell Edmonds, a fifth-round pick and a sixth-round pick in next year's draft. They upgraded their safety position. I mentioned before, the Eagles team doesn't need much more improvement. They won the best offenses. They have a great defense who's loaded with star talent all across the board on every level. You know, adding a guy like Kevin Byard adds to an already sick defensive backfield. One of the best front sevens in the game. So Eagles are they trying to head back to the Super Bowl, man. They I said they have one of the best offenses with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, one of the best receiving quarterback tandems in the game. A great run game with Hurts included, DeAndre Swift, Boston Scott, Watkins, all those great running backs and receivers who can take the ball the distance. Speaking of Alabama players, the next segment of the show, we're going to preview the LSU and Alabama game. Number 13 LSU travels to Tuscaloosa to take on number 8 Alabama Crimson Tide. The LSU Tigers are 6-2, and Alabama is 7-1. One team is very hot right now in Alabama, and other team LSU are still rebounding from disappointing loss to Ole Miss a couple weeks ago, 55-49. Bama is a 3.5 point favorite in this game, which is really close. I wouldn't say kind of close to my liking, of course, because of me being a Bama fan, but that's definitely rightfully due. Bama is a strong defense. Doesn't give up many points. LSU is a great offense led by Jaden McDaniels, a Heisman front runner who is on the season throwing the ball, completing passes at a 73.1 rate, just over 2,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, only three interceptions. Has carried the ball on the ground 91 times, 520 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, not to get confused with Jaden McDaniels from the NBA, is one of the best young quarterbacks in the country. Best friend of one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, Bryce Young, is showing why he's a Heisman candidate, just like his friend Bryce Young was when he played at Alabama and eventually won it. I was very high on this LSU team coming into the season. I saw playoff championship contention for this LSU Tiger team. Florida State, I wouldn't say surprised a lot of people, but they're better than what they were advertised going into the season. They showed off all that talent they have on the team. Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman, who's risen up the draft boards this season, Johnny Wilson. So a team like them was able to beat LSU, and in a great game. LSU couldn't finish. They started the game hot, couldn't finish. They lost number 1 at the beginning of the season. Later on in the season, they ran into Ole Miss teams who can play spoilers. Who a lot of these SEC schools with national championship, SEC championship hopes and dreams, man. They caught them in overtime, man, 55-49. But still, in all, Jaden Daniels has been the bright spot for LSU Tigers. That defense is not what it was last year. They moved some pieces around. Mason Smith missed the first game of the season. Howard Harold Perkins, linebacker, has moved positions to the middle of the field. As last year when he was more on the edge, outside per se, which kind of affect how the defense is played a lot. I think his rightful position is off the edge and at outside linebacker. So maybe they move him back around and play better defense. Another bright spot for this LSU offense is Malik Neighbors, one of the best receivers in the country. Already has nearly 1,000 yards on the season with 981 yards, 56 receptions, and 9 touchdowns. Should be a Heisman favorite as well. Probably would get more love if it wasn't for the Ole Miss loss, which kind of derails Jaden Daniels' theme as well for the Heisman. We know USC, Caleb Williams coming to the season was one of the favorites. Has kind of fallen back a little bit with these tough losses that USC has faced as well. So it kind of in the same boat. We still got Michael Penix, who is playing amazing ball right now. Bo Nix, who's playing really good. If Bama gets hot, continue to get hot, and Merrill's continue to play good, I would throw Merrill in there, honestly. I'm gonna talk about him a little further in a second, but I will throw his hat in there, because he's playing a really good football and should be praised, man. He's starting the season off slow, but back to the LSU Tigers, they still have a good decent run game, led by Logan Diggs, who has 105 carries on the season, 611 yards and 6 touchdowns. Offense is not LSU's weakness. Right now, it's been a defense giving up hella points, man. They gave up 45 points to start the season off to Florida State, and they lost against Ole Miss. They put up 55 points. I'm not saying Bama is going to do that. They definitely have the potential. We've had moments of the season where we scored fast and often, and so this could be another game where we get the ball in high gear, man. Go deep to Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton. With that cannon of the arm that Jalen Merrill has. Speaking of Jalen Merrill, he has complete way more passes than I thought he had. A lot of the balls I see him throw can be off target, a little bit short, a little bit too far, a little bit too high sometimes. And he's still you can say he's adjusting to being a pure passer. Of course, we know what he can do deep wise, but he has completed a lot of passes this season. Actually, he's completed passes on a 64.7 completion rate with 1,617 yards, 13 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. A lot of those interceptions came in a game against Texas, nearly half of them with 2, and then he occasionally threw one here and there in a few games ago, and so. I like what I see from him right now. He's steady getting better, steady using his legs to move the ball. He has 142 carries on the season at 5 touchdowns. That's major, man. Cam Newton came out earlier this past Friday episode of Funky Friday and answered a question by Brandon Marshall, who was like, "What's your influence on the league, and do you think you're a Hall of Famer?" He said, they don't want me, but they starting to make them like me. Guys like Jalen Merrill is a model of a Cam Newton. Big, strong, can throw the ball, run the ball on a consistent basis. Anthony Richardson, a guy who was selected in the top 10 on the NFL draft, who was the starter for the Colts before going down to injury. Guys like that are starting to become more and more common in the league. You can even say Jalen Hurts. He's a little shorter quarterback than Cam Newton is, but he's a bigger, strong, fast guy at the quarterback position, a playmaker at the quarterback position who can see a lot of Cam resemblance. Of course, they're both being black quarterbacks. Speaking of running, the running backs of Alabama so far, Jason McClellan and Roydell Williams have combined for nearly 900 yards on the season. Actually, they have over 900 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns. Jason McClellan has 569 yards to lead all running backs for Alabama. Going into the season, a big question for Alabama has been has been what receiver will step up to the plate and be the leader in that receiving core, who's very, very young. Doesn't have much talent as the receiving core over the years has had, with the likes of Calvin Ridley, Jared Judy, Devontae Smith, even the Jameson Williams, like guys like that who are top tier receivers who probably will go first round easily. But someone who's risen from, I guess, the darkness. I didn't see that from him his first couple of seasons in Alabama. But Jermaine Burton, man, he's stepped up a lot, man. Has 23 catches on the season, 508 yards, and 5 touchdowns. A lot of these yards have come lately as him and Jalen Merrill has created so much chemistry between them two. They have now bonding, and their chemistry is definitely growing between the two. He is finding Jermaine Burton a lot more deep. Speaking of bonds and going deep, Isaiah Bond is another receiver I want to talk about who has the same amount of catches but a little less receiving yards wise. He had 360 yards, three touchdowns. We've seen a lot from him this last game, not the bye week, of course, but against Tennessee, where we can see him being one of the deep ball threats for Jalen Merrill as well, catching a 74-yard touchdown pass. I want to predict this game real quick. I do have Bama win this game. I think they win by more than 3.5 points, honestly. The defense, I think, can slow down this LSU offense. And if they can take the ball out of Jalen Daniel's hands and don't leave it up to him to win the game or beat them early in the game, Bama can really get on them, man. 3 and outs, fumbles, interceptions. As long as they take the ball away, and just a few times, the Alabama offense is more than capable of putting up 24, 30 points, whatever they need to do to get over the hump against a great offense like LSU. Me being a homer, of course, I'm going to go ride with the Tide, but I know we're beating them. I picked us to lose to Texas, man. Texas was a really good team going early in the season. I know things have changed with a few losses and Quinn Ayers going down. NBA trade I want to talk about, a trade that had, I wouldn't say shook up the NBA, but has surprised a lot of people. Really, but not really. James Harden, we knew he wanted out of Philly. He did some things that a lot of teams were despised. He only came for a training camp for just a little bit, just a minimal time, so he can get traded, or she wouldn't have to see out the season. When set and attended and saw by his mom in LA and came back to join the team, and a day later, he was traded to the LA Clippers. So he get to stay home with his mom out there in LA and be reunited with Russell Westbrook, former teammate of his in OKC and Houston. Somehow the Clippers were able to keep that core of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard intact for a guy like James Harden, who led the league in assists, and also keeping their promise. They didn't want to trade Chance, man. They didn't have to. They didn't trade Norman Powell. They traded a lot of older pieces and late picks, years from now picks. They did trade a young piece in Kenyon Martin Jr., which his dad was very upset about. Go watch Gilbert Arenas podcast episode to watch his reaction to his son getting traded to the 76ers. But this trade was for James Harden and PJ Tucker to the Clippers. The 76ers receive Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, like I mentioned before, the 2028 unprotected first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, and a 2029 pick swap. So any real implications and real deal impact for the 76ers we'll really see until later on. They do add some more depth. You got a guy like Marcus Morris who can fill into that PJ Tucker spot, who's a bit more of a scorer than PJ Tucker, and also retains that same defense, can knock down shots. Nick Batum is really a guy who can make some threes off the bench. Robert Covington is the defensive monster as well. On the perimeter and inside, is a smaller power forward, small forward tweener. KJ Martin, a young power forward who plays a lot like his dad, but with a little bit more of an offensive twist to him. I like him as a young piece going forward. Maybe someday taking over for Marcus Morris and Robert Covington as that long-term starter for the 76ers. And you never know what Embiid going to decide to do when he becomes a free agent, or even this next offseason. Maybe he wants to get somewhere this season. He might want to get traded. So you have a guy like KJ Martin to maybe groom into your future alongside Tyrese Maxey. We still got Tobias Harris on the books, another guy who can possibly be moved at some point, who makes a lot of money, who might go out and get a bigger piece for with. I don't think the 76ers are done. I don't think Daryl Morey and the rest of that front office is going to lay down and just take a first round exit like they have been the last few seasons. If y'all have any comments, questions, concerns about this show, anything you want me to talk about per se, please comment in the comment section. Let's get into some my top 5 games of the week. All right. Where is it? The Denver Broncos snapped the Kansas City Chiefs 3-game win streak this past Sunday, 24-9. One of the best games for my Chiefs at all, man. Pat McGowan did not play great this past weekend. I had 2 interceptions, no touchdown, only 204 yards. Didn't get much on the ground. Pacheco only produced 40 yards. Travis Swift-Kelce had 6 receptions for 58 yards. Like I said, what the best game for us, no touchdown allowed by this Denver defense, man. They showed why they didn't trade Patrick Surtain Jr. I guess that Waffle House trip, him running out the Waffle House for his wife Sierra Russell Wilson had a great game. Only failed to attempt 7 passes. Was 12 for 19, 114 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Was sacked 6 times, which is pretty bad. Javonte Williams is back for Denver offense at 85 yards on the ground. Jed Judy had a touchdown to go along with 50 yards. So he's back and looking good, man. They were able to sack Patrick Mahomes 3 times. Got 2 interceptions off of him. Their defense really came to play, man. great game by that Denver defense. I had to go ahead and put us out there, man. On my top 5 games a week, y'all swept them down. I always praise my Chiefs, and I don't really talk much when they lose. When we lose, man. Like the Lions game, first game of the season, I reviewed that. I show you how I felt. The Lions is a good team. They're not bullcrap. This Broncos loss is definitely tough. I will give y'all that. All right. The Ravens and the Cardinals had a surprisingly good game. The Ravens were highly favored going into this game. They showed as of late that they're one of the better teams in the AFC. But they only beat by the struggling Arizona Cardinals by 7, 31-24. Lamar Jackson was 18-27, 157 yards, 1 touchdown. Didn't do much on the ground. Only had 17 yards on the ground. Gus Edwards, a guy who's taking over for J.K. Dobbins in his absence, had 80 yards for 3 touchdowns. Mark Andrews, one of the better tight ends, had 44 catches for 40 yards, 1 touchdown. I want to mention Justice Hill, a guy who doesn't get much love, but one of the better receiving backs in the league, had 40 yards on 4 catches. Only reason I probably know it because he's on my fantasy team. He has helped me a lot when my backs have gone down or been on bye weeks. I think on both my main drafts. The Bengals add to the 49ers loss column with a 31-17 victory over them, over the 49ers. Joe Burrow played great, man. Had 28 of 32, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Joe Mixon had a solid game as well. Had 16 carries, 87 yards, and a touchdown. My boy Jamar Chase had 10 catches for 100 yards, 1 touchdown. T. Higgins, a guy who's been rumored to be traded as well. Is a contract year for him. Had 69 yards to add to that great receiving core. Brock Purdy played okay. I had a couple mistakes. Had 2 interceptions. Was 22 of 31, 365 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Carried the ball 6 times for 57 yards, so he can move the ball with his legs as well. Christian McCaffrey had 12 rushes for 57 yards and a touchdown. Added 6 catches and 64 yards and a touchdown through the air. George Kittle looked pretty good. Had 9 catches for 149 yards. Brendan Ayuk, a guy I mentioned a little earlier, had 5 catches for 109 yards. Let's change number 2. What's next on my list? The Dolphins, man, steady showing that why they're the best team in the AFC East with that 31-17 victory over the struggling New England Patriots after a bounce back week last week. Matt Jones, back to his old ways, had 19 of 29, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. As for Tua Tagovailoa, his former teammate, former starter at Alabama, had 34, 49, 45, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Raheem Mostert had 13 carries, 40 yards, and 1 touchdown. Jalen Waddle, another Bama receiver, had 7 receptions, 121 yards, and 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill had 8 catches for 112 yards and 1 touchdown. He was at one point in time on pace for 2,000 yards. So we are pretty much midway through the season. At 8 games, he has just crossed the threshold of 1,000 yards, 1,014 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and 61 receptions. Can definitely double those numbers. So around 160 catches, just over 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. You got to be in the MVP conversation, man. If the Dolphins finish is one of the best teams in the league, like they are right now, he definitely should be considered one of the MVP candidates. Chase Claypool, a newly required receiver, had one reception for 15 yards. That's game number 3. Game number 4. The Tennessee Titans beat the Falcons. It's not one of the best games far as two teams who are in the playoff hunt, but two struggling teams who are trying to come out of this poverty and struggle, and especially the Titans who are in a very winnable division with the Texans taking a step back, taking steps back and rebuilding, and the Colts who have came down a little bit since the Anthony Richardson trade, and then the Jags are in class of the division. But the Titans definitely could sneak up and go on a little bit of a streak. I'm going to check their schedule out here in a second and see if they got some winnable games. With Ryan Tannehill out, Will Levis, their second-round pick from this past year's draft, was inserted in, had 19 of 29 yards, 238 yards. 19 of 29, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry had 101 yards on 22 carries, 4 receptions for 21 yards. DeAndre Hopkins turned back the hands of time with a great performance, 4 receptions, 129 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Yes, I said 4 receptions and 3 touchdowns. Boy, ball. Almost every time he caught the ball, he scored. All right, that's game 4. One last game for the night, man. The Saints over the Colts, 38-27. Derek Carr rebounds after a tough week last week to beat the Colts. He had 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rashid Raheed had 3 receptions, 53 yards, and 1 touchdown to lead our receivers. Jonathan Taylor looks like he is starting to get his footing back after missing the first 3 games of the season. He had 95 yards on the ground. Gardner Minshew had 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception on 23 or 41 passes. Taysom Hill led all running backs with 9 carries for 63 yards, and Alvin Kamara had 17 carries for 59 yards, and also contributed 51 yards and a touchdown through the air. But yeah, man, those were my top 5 games of the week for Sports Talk with KC. It was a great show, man. I really enjoyed talking to you guys about the fantasy NFL trades and James Harden trades, which I kind of want to go back to elaborate and talk about the Clippers per se, with them battling my Lakers tonight. I do see them as in the playoffs. I don't see them being much of a contender just yet, especially with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard not playing much together right now. But maybe James Harden is the piece that can unlock them playing together and creating that chemistry between the two. And of course, him and Westbrook didn't always like playing together. They are both ball dominant. Now that Russell's a little older and changed his style of play a little bit, it could work. Maybe I'm wrong. I still think the different Nuggets should be respected. I know a lot of things have changed in the league The Bucks got better with Dame coming over from Portland. Boston now has Chris Porzingis to add to Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown and Drew Holiday. Who else? The Lakers are 10, 12 deep now on their roster. And those 10, 12 guys can play at any point, any of the games right now. The Phoenix Suns, who have three or four guys who can score, put the ball in the basket for them, like KD, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, who still is showing that this is his team, despite missing a few games. But he came out and has showed us that despite KD being here in town, despite Bradley Beal being here now, it's still my team. Can't wait to see what he does when he comes back. But yeah, man, teams like that are still the class of the West and the East, and so I wouldn't put them in the upper echelon of teams, but they're definitely in that mid tier, that fourth seed to sixth seed right now for me right now. Can't wait to see them all play together. I was hoping that James Harden will play tonight. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I live react to that game tonight. I'm definitely going to be watching for sure, man. I just want to get a quick opinion on how I feel about that trade. I know the trade didn't really do much as far as giving my opinion on who might how that trade might affect the NBA altogether. But yeah, man, been a great show. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I've been KC. Please follow me on all social medias at Titletown TV _KC. Please like, share, and subscribe to Titletown TV on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, whatever you get your podcast needs from. I'll see you probably tomorrow or Friday with WWE Crown Jewel predictions. If you have a business, do anything on the side, any side hustles, whatever stream of income you have, please put it in the comment section, man. Titletown TV is all about spotlighting the true champions of the community, and you guys in the community of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, all together, all over the U.S. who are watching, all over the world who's watching. Please comment your name of your business, any links to your podcast, to your businesses, to your side hustles, whatever you do, to just to show y'all. You never know what this platform might do. It might turn your side hustle into your full-on career. It could take your business from small to big. So I want to help everyone grow. I want to expose everyone to the world. Show how great you guys are, man, and continue to spotlight on this truly championship worthy community we have here, man. I love you guys. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.